Before coins existed, people in ancient Sudan had to find other ways to trade. They did not have money in their pockets. Instead, they used a system called barter. This meant they exchanged goods directly with one another. A farmer with extra grain might trade it for pottery from a skilled artisan. A herder might offer a goat in exchange for tools or beautiful beads. This way of life was built on negotiation and the shared understanding of an object's value. It required trust and a community where everyone knew what things were worth. This was a very personal way of doing business, where every transaction was a conversation. As societies grew more complex, simple barter became difficult. Imagine trying to trade a cow for a small basket. It was not a fair or easy exchange, so people began to use specific items as a form of early money. These were things that everyone agreed had value. In the land of Nubia, which we now call Sudan, these items included gold rings, linen cloth, and valuable stones like carnelian. These objects were easier to carry and divide than a live animal. They acted as a bridge between simple barter and the coins that would come later on. This was a crucial step in the history of trade, a move towards a more standardized system. The River Nile was the lifeblood of this ancient world. It was a great highway for trade, connecting different communities along its banks. Goods traveled up and down the river on boats, from deep within Africa to the shores of the Mediterranean. People in Sudan traded precious materials like ivory, ebony, and animal skins. In return, they received goods from their powerful neighbor, ancient Egypt. This constant flow of goods created a vibrant marketplace of ideas and objects. It was a world connected not by coins, but by the exchange of tangible, useful, and beautiful things that people needed and desired for their daily lives. This system of trade, using barter and commodity money, lasted for thousands of years. It was the economic foundation of the great Nubian civilizations. It allowed them to build cities, fund armies, and create stunning works of art. While it may seem complicated to us today, it worked very well for them. It was a system based on the real value of goods and the relationships between people. This ancient world of trade, bustling with activity along the Nile, was the world into which the very first coins would eventually arrive, changing everything. The idea of using small metal discs as money was revolutionary. It did not begin in Sudan. The first coins to appear in the region were visitors, carried by foreign traders and soldiers. Around the 4th century BC, Greek traders started to become very active in the Mediterranean and along the Nile. They brought with them their silver and copper coins. These coins were stamped with images of their gods and rulers. For the people of Sudan, seeing these small, uniform objects for the first time must have been fascinating. They were different from the gold rings or pieces of cloth they were used to. These new objects came from powerful empires. The Ptolemaic Kingdom, a Greek dynasty that ruled Egypt after Alexander the Great, produced a huge number of coins. Their copper coins, often featuring the portrait of the current ruler or a powerful eagle, began to circulate in the northern parts of Sudan. Egyptian merchants and officials used them for payments. For Sudanese traders dealing with these foreigners, accepting these coins became a necessity. The coins were a symbol of the economic power of their neighbors. They represented a new, more abstract way of thinking about wealth, where value was guaranteed by a distant king. The arrival of these foreign coins was not just an economic event, it was also a cultural one. The coins were like little messengers from another world. They carried images and ideas from Greece and Egypt right into the heart of Nubia. A trader in a Kushite market might hold a coin with the face of a Ptolemaic king, a man he would never meet. He might see symbols of Greek gods, like Zeus's eagle. This was a quiet but powerful way that foreign cultures made their presence felt. The coins were small, but their influence was significant, planting the seed of a new idea. Slowly but surely, the concept of coinage began to take root. Local merchants and the ruling elite of the Kingdom of Kush saw how useful these coins were. They were easy to count, easy to carry, and their value was standardized. They made trade simpler and more efficient. While barter and commodity money did not disappear overnight, the presence of Greek and Egyptian coins introduced a powerful new tool. The leaders of Kush watched and learned. They saw the prestige and power that came with minting your own money. It was only a matter of time before they decided to take this idea and make it their own. The Kingdom of Kush was a great African power. Its capital, Meroe, was a bustling city famous for its ironworking and grand pyramids. For centuries, the Kushites had watched foreign coins circulate in their markets. Then, sometime around the 1st century BC, they took a monumental step. the rulers of Kush decided to create their very own coins. This was a declaration of their kingdom's strength and independence. It showed that Kush was not just a trading partner of Egypt and Rome, but an equal power, with its own sophisticated economy. The minting of the first Kushite coin was a moment of great national pride. These first locally made coins were struck from copper, or more accurately, a copper alloy, like bronze. The choice of metal was practical. Copper was more available than silver or gold, and was perfect for the small denomination coins needed for everyday transactions in the marketplace. The Kushites had immense knowledge of metalworking, which they had perfected through their famous iron industry. They applied this skill to the delicate art of minting. Workshops were likely set up in Meroe, where skilled artisans would carve the designs into dies and then strike the heated metal blanks to create the coins. The decision to make coins was likely driven by a Kushite king. Historians believe that rulers like King Natakamani, who reigned during a prosperous period, may have overseen this innovation. By issuing coins with his own image, a king could spread his authority throughout the realm. Every time a person used a coin to buy bread or pay a tax, they were reminded of the king's power and presence. It was a brilliant form of propaganda, a way to stamp the king's identity onto the very fabric of daily life. The coins were more than just money, they were a political statement. The creation of these coins signaled a major shift in the Kushite economy. It moved the kingdom towards a more monetized system, at least in the urban centers like Meroe. While people in rural areas likely continued to barter, the coins would have been essential for soldiers' pay, for state officials, and for trade in the city's large markets. This innovation allowed the Kushite state to manage its finances more effectively. It was a sign of a mature and highly organized administration, capable of controlling its own currency and shaping its economic destiny. The first Kushite copper coin was a symbol of a kingdom at the height of its power. The designs on the Kushite copper coins are like windows into their world. They are not just simple pieces of metal, they are packed with meaning and symbolism. On one side of the coin, you would typically find the portrait of the ruling king or queen. The ruler was often shown wearing a crown or other symbols of royalty. This was a clear message to everyone who used the coin: this is your leader. By placing their face on the money, the Kushite monarchs asserted their divine right to rule and their control over the kingdom's economy. It was a personal signature on every transaction. On the other side of the coin, the Kushites often placed an image of one of their gods. A very common figure was the lion-headed god, Apetamak. Apetamak was a powerful, uniquely Kushite warrior god, and putting him on their coins was a way of seeking his protection for the kingdom. It also distinguished their coins from those of Egypt or Rome, which featured different gods. This pairing of the king on one side and a powerful god on the other reinforced the idea that the king's power came from the divine. It told the people that their ruler was blessed and protected by the gods of Kush. One of the most remarkable features of these coins is the writing that appears on them. The Kushites used their own unique script, called Meroitic. This script is still not fully understood by scholars today, which makes it very mysterious. The inscriptions on the coins often included the name and titles of the ruler. Using their own language and script, instead of Greek or Egyptian, was another powerful statement of independence. It showed that the Kushite civilization had its own distinct culture and identity, separate from its powerful neighbors. The coins were a celebration of all things Kushite. Together, these features, the king's portrait, the image of a local god, and the Meroitic script, make the Kushite coins incredibly important historical objects. They tell us who was in power, what gods they worshipped, and what language they wrote. They show a kingdom that was confident, prosperous, and proud of its unique heritage. For the people of Kush, these coins were a part of their daily lives, a familiar symbol of their identity. For us today, they are precious clues that help us piece together the story of this great African kingdom. The great kingdom of Kush did not last forever. Around the 4th century AD, its power began to fade. The exact reasons are, well, pretty complex, but they likely include environmental changes, shifts in trade routes, and pressure from neighboring groups like the Aksumites, from what is now Ethiopia. As the central authority in Meroe weakened, the kingdom's ability to manage a sophisticated economy declined. The production of their unique copper coins, which had been a symbol of their strength, came to a halt. The mints fell silent, and an era of local coinage in Sudan came to an end for a very long time. After the fall of Kush, Sudan entered a new historical period. Three Christian kingdoms, Nobatia, Makuria, and Alodia, rose to power. These kingdoms were strong and prosperous with beautiful churches and a vibrant culture. However, unlike the Kushites, they did not mint their own coins. Instead, they relied on the money that was already circulating in the region. The economy seems to have reverted in many ways to a system more dependent on barter. For larger or official transactions, they used coins from the powerful empires around them, primarily the Byzantine Empire. The coins found in the ruins of the Christian kingdoms tell this story clearly. Archaeologists have unearthed Byzantine copper coins, known as foles, in places like Old Dongola, which was the capital of Makuria. These coins traveled along the same trade routes that had existed for centuries, connecting Sudan to Egypt and the wider Mediterranean world. The use of these foreign coins shows that the Nubian kingdoms were still very much a part of international trade networks. They were not isolated, but they did not express their own sovereignty through coinage in the way the Kushites had. This long period without locally produced currency, which lasted for nearly 1,000 years, is a significant chapter in Sudan's monetary history. It shows that having your own coins is not the only way to have a successful economy. The Christian kingdoms thrived for centuries, using a mix of barter and foreign currency. However, the silence of the mints also represents a loss of the specific type of political statement that the Kushite coins had made. The proud declaration of a local king, a local god, and a local script was gone. For the next millennium, the coins in a Sudanese person's hand would speak of emperors in distant lands like Constantinople. The arrival of Islam in Sudan, beginning around the 7th century and becoming dominant over several centuries, brought profound changes. The Christian kingdoms gradually gave way to new Islamic sultanates. The most powerful of these was the Funj Sultanate, which established its capital at Sennar in the early 16th century. Like the Christian kingdoms before them, the Funj initially relied on foreign coins for much of their trade. Coins from the Ottoman Empire, Egypt, and even some European nations found their way into the markets of Sennar. Barter also remained extremely important for everyday life, especially outside the main cities. However, the Funj Sultanate did, at certain points, attempt to mint its own currency. These were not widespread, systematically produced coins like those of Kush. Instead, they were often crudely made and issued in small numbers. These coins were typically made of copper and were often simple, bearing the name of the Sultan and perhaps a date. They were a tentative step back towards local coinage. The minting was likely inconsistent, happening only when a particular sultan felt the need to assert his authority or when there was a shortage of foreign currency. These coins are very rare today, a testament to their limited production. Another powerful state, the Sultanate of Darfur in western Sudan, also produced its own coins. From the 17th century onwards, the rulers of Darfur issued a distinctive type of currency. Their copper coins were often not round, but shaped like small rings or hooks. This was a unique local tradition. Like the Funj coins, they were often simply stamped, sometimes with the Sultan's name. They were used in the bustling trade networks that crossed the Sahara Desert, connecting Darfur with West Africa and the markets of Egypt. These coins were a clear symbol of Darfur's status as a major regional power. The coins of the Funj and Darfur sultanates represent a brief and fragmented return to local minting after the long silence that followed Kush. They were very different from the sophisticated coins of the Meroitic kingdom. They were less about widespread economic use and more about asserting the power of the sultan in a specific time and place. They show that even in an economy dominated by barter and foreign money, the desire for a local currency, a symbol of sovereignty, never completely disappeared. These rare copper pieces are precious reminders of the powerful Islamic kingdoms that once ruled the lands of Sudan. In 1821, Sudan's history took another sharp turn. Armies from Egypt, then under the rule of the Ottoman Empire, conquered the Funj Sultanate. This began a period known as the Turco-Egyptian rule. The new rulers had little interest in promoting a local Sudanese currency. Instead, they brought their own money with them. The official coins of the land became those of the Ottoman Empire and Egypt. These included copper coins, which were used to pay soldiers and officials, and for transactions in the markets of new administrative centers like Khartoum. The coins in people's pockets now bore the symbols and scripts of foreign rulers in Cairo and Istanbul. This situation was dramatically interrupted by a powerful movement of resistance. In the 1880s, a religious leader named Muhammad Ahmad declared himself the Mahdi, or the Guided One, and led a successful revolt against the Turco-Egyptian regime. He established a new, independent state in Sudan, known as the Mahdist State. As a symbol of this new independence, the Mahdi and his successor, the Khalifa Abdullahi, ordered the minting of their own coins. They established a mint in Omdurman and produced coins in gold, silver, and, importantly, copper. These were the first truly national coins of Sudan in a very long time. The modest copper coins were functional and symbolic. They were often crudely struck, reflecting the difficult conditions under which the state existed, constantly at war. The inscriptions were purely Islamic, usually stating that the coin was struck in the Mahdiya and including the date. There were no portraits in keeping with Islamic tradition. These coins were vital for the Mahdist economy, allowing the state to pay its soldiers and run its administration. They were a powerful rejection of foreign rule, replacing the coins of the Ottoman Sultan with a currency that proclaimed the sovereignty of the new Sudanese state. The Mahdist state was short-lived. In 1898, a combined British and Egyptian force conquered Sudan, beginning the Anglo-Egyptian colonial period. Once again, the local currency was suppressed. The Mahdist coins were withdrawn, and the official money became Egyptian currency, which was closely managed by the British. For the first half of the 20th century, the coins used in Sudan were Egyptian pounds and piastres, including copper and bronze coins for small change. Although ruled from Khartoum, the country's monetary system was controlled from abroad. The dream of an independent Sudanese currency was once again put on hold, waiting for the day of independence. On January 1, 1956, Sudan became an independent nation. This was a moment of immense joy and pride. After decades of colonial rule, the Sudanese people were finally masters of their own destiny. One of the first and most important tasks for the new government was to create the symbols of this new sovereignty. This included a national flag, a national anthem, and crucially, a national currency. The era of using Egyptian money was over. The time had come for Sudan to mint its own modern coins, a currency that belonged to and represented the Sudanese people. The new currency was named the Sudanese pound, which was divided into 100 piastres and 1,000 milliams. In 1956, the first series of coins was issued by the newly formed Sudan Currency Board. This set included several denominations, with the smallest values struck in bronze, a copper alloy. These were the 1, 2, 5, and 10 milliam coins. These copper-colored coins were the ones that people would use for their daily shopping, to buy bread, tea, or a newspaper. They were the tangible, metallic sound of independence, jingling in the pockets of millions of citizens across the vast country. The design of these first modern coins was chosen with great care. It needed to be a symbol that could unite a diverse nation. The chosen emblem was a famous image of a camel rider, a cameleer. The camel has always been a vital animal in Sudan, essential for transport and trade across the desert, a symbol of endurance and resilience. By placing the cameleer on the national currency, the new state was celebrating a key part of its heritage and identity. On the other side of the coin, the value was written in both Arabic and English, reflecting the country's diverse linguistic history. The introduction of these coins was a huge practical and symbolic step. It disconnected Sudan's economy from Egypt's and gave the new Central Bank of Sudan control over its own monetary policy. For ordinary people, using these coins every day was a constant reminder of their newfound freedom. The copper milliams were not just money, they were a declaration of nationhood. They represented the successful end of a long struggle and the beginning of a new journey as an independent country. From the ancient Kushites to the Mahdists, the dream of a local currency was a recurring theme, and in 1956, it became a modern reality. The journey of Sudan's currency did not stop in 1956. Like any country, Sudan has faced economic changes, and its coins have changed along with it. Inflation, the process where money loses its value over time, meant that the small milliam coins became less and less useful. By the 1970s and 1980s, the cost of goods had risen so much that these little bronze coins were no longer practical for daily transactions. The government stopped minting them, and they gradually disappeared from circulation. The focus shifted to higher denomination coins and banknotes. A major change came in 1992 when the government introduced a new currency, the Sudanese dinar, to replace the pound. This was a time of political and economic transformation in the country. New coins were issued as part of this change. While pure copper was no longer used for minting, some of the new coins were made from copper-plated steel or other copper-colored alloys. For example, the new 1, 5 and 10 dinar coins had this familiar reddish-brown appearance, linking them to the long history of copper money in the region. The designs on these coins also changed, often featuring images of important buildings or cultural symbols. The story took another turn in 2007, following the comprehensive peace agreement that ended the country's long civil war. As part of the peace deal, a new currency was introduced to help reunify the country's economy. The dinar was replaced by a new Sudanese pound. Once again, a new set of coins was minted. This series included a 1, 5, 10, 20, and 50 piastre coin. The 20 and 50 piastre coins are bimetallic, but the smaller denominations, like the 1, 5, and 10 piastres, are made of metals like copper-plated steel, continuing the visual tradition of copper-colored currency for everyday use. Today, the coins used in Sudan are a reflection of this long and complex history. While high inflation has once again made the smallest coins rare in daily transactions, they remain the official currency of the nation. From the first Kushite bronze pieces to the modern copper-plated piastres, the story of Sudan's small change coins is a story of sovereignty, identity, and economic change. Each coin is a small piece of history, a marker of a specific era. They tell a story that begins with ancient kings and gods on the Nile and continues into the bustling, complex world of modern Sudan.